Hey there, welcome back to another interesting episode on Karishma Konnect, the 149th episode on UAE's Virtual First podcast. I'm speaking to Dominique Rose, who is a Chief AI Evangelist at Final Upgrade AI. She's creating tomorrow's AI-ready executives and companies, and she tells me more about why is that important now more than ever. She offers some really unique tips, tools, and tricks, and the best part about Dominique is that she breaks it down so simplistically. That is what got me to discover her when I attended her recent workshop that she's been hosting around the world for executives to look out for and for marketers to know how they can use AI effectively to boost productivity and enhance value. Go check out the episode. Until the next one, stay tuned. This is Karishma. I'll be back yet again. Tata.
Thank you so much, Dominique, for joining me on this episode of Karishma Connect. It's coming full circle. I've been waiting to have this conversation for quite some time ever since I got to know about your webinar, and I can't wait to know more. To begin with, on this podcast, I always ask the basic question, which is the journey so far. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I've been about 25 years in some of the biggest marketing communications holdings in the world, so IPG, WPP Group. And then just at one point, I really wanted to focus on something different. So that for the last kind of 7-8 years, I was really focusing a lot more on the technology side. In fact, me during COVID, it was, getting up at like 5 o'clock in the morning and coding my own platform and kind of figuring things out. I've been obsessed with technology for a really long time. And I just felt like I needed something that was a little bit more tech focused. And I was working in big marcoms and marketing agency holdings. And I didn't feel like it was close enough to kind of the action because I was working then more stitching together our own systems. And so I started my own company, and that was in October 2022. And a month later, ChatGPT was launched. And wow. I was so excited because I realized actually this is a massive transformation and shift that's going to be happening. And I remember getting into blockchain and crypto when it was 2013. And I was so interested in the space. But of course, like as a big holding agency, they were a bit allergic to the word crypto for many reasons that all panned out to be true in a lot of cases. And so I had a little bit of an itch to scratch because I always thought back, I was in crypto from 2013. And if I could have gone out and started to really evangelize the technology and be part of something bigger, like maybe in my life would have had a bit of different course, and it would have been really a great way to be embedded with some heavy tailwinds that are going in a certain direction. And so when ChatGPT was launched, I started going around everyone that was in my ecosystem that were C-suite executives going, what's your AI strategy? Like, how are you going to enable this, et cetera? And they were all kind of like, it's okay. Like my IT guy's going to take care of it. And I was like, no, it's bigger than that. Trust me. And they were like, but there was a lack of education. So actually I started everything with education. 2023, I was just running session after session, getting on stages and just giving away all of the knowledge and the frameworks and the understanding. And I think coming from marketing communications background, you might be a tech girl, but you can explain things in a way that the rest of the business and employees and everyone understands, which is where there's a really big gap right now in the system. You've got tech people trying to explain things and it just goes over the head of everyone else and it gets really intimidating. So I founded my company on, in essence, making AI sexy and awesome and fun and all around storytelling, because in reality, like that's what everybody really needed. And they still need it at this time. As all of this transforms and changes, people are terrified they're going to lose their jobs, and still nobody's coming and really doing great education programs in order to explain, where do you get started? What are the first steps? It's okay, you're not going to lose your job. The only time you're going to lose your job is if you totally aren't getting on board with the tech. So I love what I do. And to be completely honest, I found my calling in everything that I'm doing now. Because like I could do this for the rest of my life and be absolutely happy, because I love opening up people's eyes to a completely different world of technology.
And why is it so important to decipher that world in the way that you describe? Why is it important to take a different outlook towards this wave of AI that we are currently experiencing?
Yeah, no, good question. I mean, it's going to happen anyway. And it's, in my opinion, it just determines whether your decisions will determine whether you're going to be a part of that future or not. And I do a lot of C-suite, executive level, or leaders of departments, or like, for example, we'll come in and train the C-suite, and then we'll do like the marketing department, then the legal department, finance, supply chain, etc. But here's the thing, is if you're part of that leadership team, then if you want to lead the company into the future, you need to be hands-on. And I've met a lot of leaders who are like, it's okay. Like I go, what tools are people using? Oh, I don't know. I enabled my team to use whatever they want. They all said they're using it. I'm like, because with everything that's transforming, I don't think anybody has their head in the sand anymore like they did necessarily 2 years ago, where there just wasn't information and they didn't know, or they were like, I keep hearing a little bit about this AI. Now it's coming from the board conversations that are coming going, what are you doing that's concrete in the area of AI? And, you know, if companies aren't transforming fast enough or departments aren't transforming fast enough, there's one single-handed way of transforming an organization that isn't moving, and that's you chop the top. You fire them, you let go of them, you replace them with people who are hungry or understand the technology or the transition that needs to happen. Yeah. And that's what I'm about, is like, how do you then enable it? Because you see so many conversations happening. Like not too long ago, we had all sorts of these CEO memos that were popping out, like from, I think it was Shopify came out with one that was kind of like, you can't hire unless you've AI enabled your team. And everybody should go onto the intranet and go and find all the information. And you all have to go find it out. And it's a requirement now. And you were like, wait, hold on. So what's the company actually doing in order to enable this? And then you would have like Duolingo who comes out and they're like, you know what? We're really going to help you with this journey. We're going to train you. We're going to kind of help you to transition into more AI empowered company. And there's a tone here that in some companies is missing, because people are just like, you have to go do AI, but like nobody really knows what do AI is. So I come from it from a perspective of, it's actually really fun because people are pressured. And you know, I coined something very early days that was called genius gridlock. And it's this idea that we're all really intelligent folks, senior in our jobs, we know a lot, but we actually most of the time don't know how to deal with this. So somebody has to come and give us a bit of a roadmap. You give us a roadmap, like we got this. But the roadmap, because it's missing, that was where the gap was. And I've been very excited to go and fill that, because it's an eye opener. When people hear about AI all the time, like get on board with AI, go get started. Like you go figure out what we're going to be doing. And everyone's like, but where, how am I supposed to do this? And so what I love about it is like, once you actually explain just the details, here's 15 tools that you need to know, or 10 tools that you need to know, and this is how they work. And then you can pull that in and apply it to your everyday work and that of your team. And you can start to understand things that everyone throws around in the headlines as big concepts like AI agents. And everyone's like, God, is this AI agent going to come replace me? No, trust me, no one's going to hand over the reins in anything in an organization to an AI agent anytime soon. But if you don't understand how AI can optimize an entire workflow from start to finish, which is what an AI agent does, then you're not going to be the person that leads into that transformation and change and figures out how do you bring that into the organization. So once people start to feel a comfort level and they get over that kind of genius gridlock, and then they get excited about it, then you see a real transformation and change where you go, oh, okay, like this is actually kind of fun. And I think what was missing was the fun. And I like to say I'm not boring. So all my sessions, they're like, I mean, we just have, you know, it's like I go in with executive C-suite leaders, and, you know, we've got photos of like AstroCat, my mascot, that's an astronaut cat, and bright pink and bright purple. And, you know, we make fun of the tech platforms, like, you know, the ones that we make fun of, not to be said publicly, but, you know, like, this shouldn't be like compliance training. And I think a lot of organizations, they look at it as like the fear mongering about data and compliance and everything. And then they're like, why is no one getting activated? And you're like, yeah, because you kind of made it not like nobody aspires to that. So I love the fact that actually I can come in and completely change the outlook of it. Because I don't think anybody's thinking, you know what, I don't believe in AI. It's just, you know what? It's not going to happen for me. It's not going to happen for my company. Like nobody, like we've gotten over that hurdle. But like what next? And I love making that like easy and fun and something that I've had so many people go through sessions and they were like, I'm not, you know, that you get this thing, I'm not super tech savvy. And I go,
Yes.
do you want a job in the future? Because that's not a good starting point. You're going to be in a lot of trouble with this. Oh, I'm not tech savvy. But like, do you use Microsoft? Like, do you use Word and Excel? And it's just a new tool set. And you'll find that if you like, by the way, all of everything, like use it for data and analytics, you use it for strategy, for planning, for everything that you do in your work. And it saves you time. And it was easier than what would have taken that time to do it. So it's the eye-opening experience of actually just simplifying things in plain language with no jargon and making it something that everybody kind of wants to be a part of. You've got to actually know the functionality. You have to actually know deep research. You have to know the other tools that also do research. So I like to use Perplexity because it can get into social media. It can pull stuff from Reddit, for example. I like to use Grok on X, and it's not grok.com, it's X, and then the tab with Grok, because that one can actually search X, Twitter. I still call it Twitter. I'm old school. But then it can go and search there. So you can use it for like blitz consumer audits or like what are people buzzing about. I wake up every morning a little bit terrified that I've fallen behind every time because I'm like, I spend 2 to 3 hours a day in AI immersed in learning in everything that's happening because it's part of my job. But it's like I wake up, I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to keep up this pace. So I can only imagine how everybody else feels. But one of my first steps is I pop into X and onto Grok and I go, what happened in the last 12, 24 hours? And give me a summary of what all of the thought leaders out there are talking about it. And like, what are the insights in terms of the transformation and change? And I do that every single day. And it gives me a jump start and a head start in terms of like, okay, because people always ask me like, well, who are you following? And I go, who am I not following? I'm following everybody because like, 3 hours a day in just learning, it means you absorb a lot from a lot of different directions, but that's the only way you could do it in order to advise others on everything. Anyway, so you need to know the tools that can do research because it's incredibly important. Second, obviously, like visuals and all that, like it's good to know, but I don't think anybody is surprised nowadays that, you can create video and visuals and avatars and whatnot using AI. But I like to explain to them something like N8N or how you can do AI automation. And actually, it's a little bit of what I do in order to open up everyone's eyes is I'll go and take them through like a full workflow in, let's say, we'll ask them like, what are you dealing with right now that requires like a strategic plan? Oh, I don't know. We're trying to expand to this market. We're launching this product there to these new consumers, or we're trying to figure out blah, 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 blah. And we'll go, okay, great. Map out that process and how long it would take. They'll be like, it'll take me like, I don't know, the next 2 weeks in order to pull together all of this research and pull this together and do that and like then pull together the report, et cetera. So we'll literally go and do that. And we call it AI multi-tooling. And we had this concept. Anyway, I'll tell you that in a second. So we'll go and do that AI multi-tooling from start to finish so that they understand that actually there's more tools than just ChatGPT. ChatGPT is basic, but by the time you get to N8N, that's the other end of the spectrum because you show a C-suite executive or an executive leader, how do you work across a specific workflow? And then you go, okay, now you take that workflow and now you automate the entire thing with AI. And that's N8N. So it's not something they will ever have to touch. But when everyone is confused by what you can and cannot do and what's all this AI terminology, what they're lacking is like something visual. Yeah. Because otherwise it all sounds like they're like really lofty stuff. So what I do is I go, okay, if you don't know the difference between a RAG and an LLM, so an LLM is large language models like ChatGPT, Claude, somewhat Perplexity, et cetera, Grok, Gemini, if anybody uses it. So those are an LLM. And then you have other technology that's called RAG, and it's all about retrieval of information. And then I'll go show them like a notebook LM that if you haven't checked it out, it's fantastic. You can upload all of your information, you can query it, and it will retrieve. Its job is to retrieve information. And when you see it, they go, oh, I gotcha. And then I go, that's why your chat GPT hallucinated, because its job was not to go find information, bring it to you, and then summarize it. Its job was using the massive words that it's learned and the way that it strings together sentences. Its job is to put together a sentence that's what you want. It never did research up until they launched deep research and all of the search capability that then searched the internet, brought it there, and did it. But we go and we actually show Notebook LM, and then we use it on actual use cases with them, and then they walk away and they go, I get it now. It actually wasn't that hard. And then you'll go and you'll do the same for data and analysis, because there's some awesome tools. You can go upload Excel sheets. It will automatically like visualize the data, create whatever spreadsheets, or sorry, any dashboards that you want, etc. Like, people didn't realize that even BI tools now, you can do all of it. Like, so for me, it's a little bit of like, it depends on the company and what their focal points are. Like, we'll work with like Coca-Cola, and they're a lot more marketing and sales focused because that's their core. And then we'll work with other companies where it's like a lot more, okay, operations, supply chain. We're working with a company, for example, that's doing their supply chain and having AI automation that can go and talk to suppliers and do customer conversations, et cetera. Like, it just depends on the company. So it's not always, I like to say, it's not always about the tool. It's actually first and foremost about what you want to use the tool for. And it's most important then that the company understands like what's their low-hanging fruit of what they want to solve. Or if it's a smaller company, I go, what's the biggest bottleneck that you have? Because that's where you want to solve. Because if you find the biggest bottleneck and then you alleviate that, now you can grow faster. Now you can be more successful. Now you can have better customer experiences. It's not all about like, let's just fire all our employees. Give me one C-suite executive that's like, you know what? If I had 20, 30% of all of my team's time, they have nothing to do. So I'm just going to fire them. You're like, what? Of course not. You have talented people. You've grown them up. If you get 20, 30, 40% more of their time because they're optimized by AI, they got stuff to do. And that's going to be fantastic for the business. So I think it's about like funneling it that way. And on one last point, there's such awesome stuff that's happening in conversational AI. And in fact, like one that I really love to show to people because it's probably the most fun is if you look up Sesame AI does live conversation. There's an awesome demo on their website where you can talk to either Maya or Miles and have a conversation with them. And there's no pause in between it answering back. It answers in absolutely real time, like it has a personality and everything. And it's like, that's the level of where the technology is. So we'll come into the C-suite and we'll have already programmed a demo that goes, okay, like, here's your product. AI is going to be the salesperson, and we're going to have it try to convince you to buy your own product, mostly because you never want to put somebody in the C-suite or executive leadership team on the spot to try to sell something live to an AI tool, because like, hey, we don't want to embarrass anybody. But like, people go away and they go, wow, this is so cool. The tech is so good. And that's building like a really quick demo that we just do before it. And it's making it very pragmatic and hands-on and easy to use and fun and interesting, but also showing them actually how really good technology and AI is right now. Because I think most everybody's on social media. Every once in a while you see a photo or you see AI generated content and you're like, AI is just not that good. And I go, you check out the stuff that we develop, you'll never have any idea. Because like our goal in our company is whatever you build shouldn't be like automatically seen as it's okay for AI. If they're saying that, then we shouldn't be using those tools. And we have a big area of the business that's around the talks and the workshops, but then we also do marketing. So we have a marketing agency within that has a full studio that's fully AI empowered. So our goal, and we do this in sessions, we go and show people like, here's the client's like former stuff and here's our stuff. Tell me which one's AI. Nobody can figure it out. And that's what you have to be able to achieve, is instead of thinking like it's not bad for AI, like learn how to take it to that level with the various tools. I mean, admittedly for visuals and video, like I think we're up to like 25 different tools that we're using on a regular basis. That's just the subscriptions. There's a lot of free ones that we try all the time. But like, you can take it such to a fantastically quality level where a consumer is not going to be kind of distracted by anything that you're putting in front of them thinking, oh, it's AI. Like there's so many of these campaigns that I see where the conversation shifts to being not about the product, but about the fact that AI was used in order to make it entirely. And I'm like, was this really a great campaign? Like, we stopped talking about your company and your product, and it created a lot of intrigue. Like, wouldn't it be better to just do fantastically great campaigns and marketing work and not have AI as part of the conversation? And I think that's where we're starting to see certain clients and certain customers and certain people starting to get to, where you become beyond just a dabbler. You get to this level where you're like, you know what, we're really good at this. And now we can fully AI empower everything within the organization and externally also. Like normally, when I started in 2023, because nobody had budgets for AI. So actually we didn't make money that much in 2023 on AI. We made all of our money on like marketing projects and influencer work and comms and whatnot. And the team was dedicating most of their time actually on the AI space. But we were doing all of these trainings for C-suite executives, and they'd come in. And we only we got our inner ecosystem together, like everyone that we knew that had their own network. And we would get them together at one of the most posh restaurants, gorgeous views and everything in Singapore called Artemis Grill. And we'd fill the room, 40 people could fit there. And we would when you invited them to this posh restaurant, they were like, even if the topic sucks, like
I would
it's hard.
offer it. Yes.
Food is so good. And of course we gave people a little bit of wine because AI and wine for a lunch. But because it was middle of the day, 3 hours they had to block out. And it was quite an expensive lunch, right? It was $250. We just gave it all to the venue. Again, it wasn't about making money. It was like at least not having costs. And so people would come in, but they had such a fantastic time. They actually it fit in the bucket of fun that we really had to pull people together after the first one. Because afterwards we just flagged to that group of 40 and they go, I've got a whole bunch of people I want to tell and send them to you. And so for the entire year, we had all of these C-suite executives coming through every single session. And that's how we developed our brand. But we used to do it was a 2.5 hour long session. And you imagine people are coming in, they're like, I don't know, it's some AI lunch. My friend told me it was amazing. They've come in. I'm like, bathroom breaks beforehand. And they're like, yeah, of course. It's so we do 2.5 hours straight, no bathroom breaks.
Oh my God.
It'd be not one person looking at their phone, right? So people used to say, you know what, this is like a training for me because I have ADD and normally I can't focus on anybody, but they're like, you just move so fast and you show everything on screen and it's so easy. And I go, but it's not hard. And they go, it's not hard. They go, I got it now. Actually. And a lot of those people went on to actually be some of the first people that really started to get certifications, things like that in AI, because they went, first movers advantage. And a lot of those people stemmed from those initial lunches that I was doing. But we would do 2.5 hours straight. And then I'd be like, okay, Q&A. And they go, stop. We have to go to the bathroom. But don't answer any questions while we're out of the room because we don't want to miss anything. I rush to the bathroom and then they rush back and then they'd be like, okay, go ahead. Now we can do questions. Okay. So, it's about it's an exciting space. I'm massively passionate about it. And that's obviously where we also differentiate ourselves. It's not academic, boring. I like to say I am not boring. We do all sorts of fun, engaging ways of showing people everything, but it's mostly the passion. Nobody's going to follow a standard, compliance type of feel to a training. They're not going to change their behavior. And I'm all about how do you actually infuse a lot more excitement in this space?
Yeah. And how have you seen the reception of AI? How has that differed from place to place? Because you've had quite the global experience. So how have you kind of seen people across cultures react to this
Yeah.
new fundamental that's coming?
So I started off in Singapore and almost entirely in Singapore. We were getting work in other markets, but again, it wasn't necessarily linked to the AI side of the business. It was more the marketing communications agency side. And then I started last year to go to Hong Kong and to the Middle East. And man, Hong Kong is cool. Like, I think in Singapore, people are very interested to know, but maybe it feels like sometimes it moves slightly slower. Whereas you go to Hong Kong, and because the market is going through such a transition period, people are hungry for like something new and fresh that can give them a new competitive edge. And so I spend actually more time in Hong Kong than any other market. And we are doing some fantastical work there that I'm super proud of. And then the Middle East, same thing. So Middle East is moving a lot faster, a little bit less like, let's say Saudi, they're a little bit more talking about it and trying to figure out the roadmap, but I've been a number of times. And then especially the UAE, I mean, the colossal amount of investment, they're missing that fundamental piece right now, which is the training element. So it's a little bit right now top down, lots of investment, lots of pressure, and people are still kind of trying to figure it out. But then I went to the US and to London and to Europe. And honestly, I was a little bit interested to figure out, like, where are they on that rung? Because I was thinking, in the US, they must be like light years ahead because AI, all of the innovation and the tools are being driven from there in so many ways. And I was really surprised. Actually, like, I would say if there's one market that is more advanced than others, I would say it's Hong Kong. Because, and after that, potentially other markets in Asia. In terms of individual usage, like there's a big difference, right? There's, my company has AI as a priority and we're doing something, but then there's another level of, am I actually AI fluent and using all of these tools, or like, do I know about them and am I a proficient user? And because China has been so good at developing new technology and innovating so quickly, but also because most of Asia had that leapfrog, right, where they kind of switch straight to mobile. They're pretty fast at adopting new technologies. I think the US and Europe and UK, they never went through like a complete change of all of the technologies that are coming their way. They got comfortable. And I just think in Asia, you're seeing like people transform and use it a lot more. And in fact, it's a lot of that influence from China in terms of their tech. And I follow a lot of the Chinese tech. And in fact, internally, we use a lot of Chinese tools that are better than some of the Western kind of counterparts, because you have to know those differences. Now, we don't use it for like, just anything. That's a lot of the visuals, the video, the avatars, things like that. So it's a little bit more the marketing agency side of the business. But at the same time, like the entire global ecosystem is constantly kind of shifting and changing. But I think whoever masters and moves the quickest in terms of trainings is probably going to be at the forefront. You heard China not too long ago just announced they're including AI trainings for school children and up. Like everyone's going to get AI trainings. And then also the US government just announced the same. And I'm just like, all of this transformation and change, it really is going to determine how well people can adapt in a new forefront with all of this technology. Because it's going to be, if people think it's a wild ride right now, like we're at absolutely exponential growth of the next year. Like everything was slowly developing, but like this year, next year, you're going to have so much change that I don't think people necessarily, they're kind of like, yeah, maybe we're done. Or are we pretty much done? No, we're not done. We're just getting started. And in fact, the robotics that are out of China, like with Unitree, are absolutely amazing. Like I was going to order one of their dogs, and then because I was like, oh, this would be great because I can go speak on stage and I can bring it with me. It'll be super fun, and it dances on two legs. If you Google, it's the Unitree dogs, UNITREE. They're so fun. And I was going to order one. And then I saw that actually it's the primary dog that the Chinese government is doing all of their partnerships with for defense. And then you open up on the internet, it's like all of these dogs with like AK-47s on top of them being used as snipers. And I was like, I don't think I should travel with this anymore because I'm bound to get myself in trouble. I am not bringing weapons into the country. But some of these robotics, they're absolutely stunning. And the West has them and China has them. And you know what? Like, they say that in the next couple of years, it'll cost you $20,000, $30,000 to have a robot in the household. Now, is that inexpensive? No. How much did your car cost? Would you rather have a car or a robot that takes care of your every need in the household? I'll pick the robot. Why? Because we're going to have self-driving cars a lot more and more optionality that pops up. And anyway, we have Grab, we have Uber, we have all of these platforms in order to get around. So it's not like we're going to suffer. Whereas I want somebody to take care of all the stuff in the home. And the same applies for all these LLMs and research tools and AI, because that's taking care of everything that's behind a computer. And in the not too distant future, we're going to suddenly be like, whew, this is great. I mean, the amount of transformation is going to be colossal because you have your household robot that can do anything for you. So you no longer have to engage the services externally of people who do niche tasks in a lot of cases. And then you have your AI agent in the computer that can take care of all sorts of other stuff, everything from legal to taking care of any other paperwork or developing documents or flyers or like whatever you need. And in essence, like, humans will be responsible for overseeing those bots. Although at one point, somewhere in the distant future, obviously, like, who's going to be in charge? I do a little bit worried that at one point, like, when the tech gets that good, will it even need human oversight and input? And the honest truth is we're still so far away from that I don't think we can even predict like what the world will look like. I mean, I'm like in the futurescape space. Like, I'm painting a landscape and an idea of where all of this is evolving, but like nobody knows because everything is transforming. Me, society, family, structure, values, technology, everything all at once. And where it's all going to end up in another 5-10 years, you don't know. All I know is I just need to take one step at a time and stay ahead of as much of the technology, or at least be knowledgeable, because otherwise you risk just being a little bit left behind. And that's my biggest concern.
Thank you so much, Dominique, for joining me. It's been a pleasure. It's been really resourceful. I'm going to be going and searching for some of these tools that you've mentioned, and I hope every person listening to this one definitely benefits from it. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you very much, Karishma, for having me, and have a fantastic rest of your day. I'll see you soon.